It's time for the Maple Grove City Report. I'm Dave Kaiser from Northwest Community Television. Thanks for joining us. Along with us today, Heidi Nelson, Maple Grove City Administrator. Welcome once again.
Thank you.
We have the meeting from February 3rd to talk about a 2-hour meeting, so a little longer in Maple Grove's normal train of meetings. One big topic to touch on, the Project 100, so we'll give you some information about that. Also a work session ahead of time we'll mention, and a lot going on in the city, especially in the month of February, so we'll give you some updates of what you can see in town. Let's start with the work session on February 3rd, and the topic was the History Museum.
Yeah.
For people that don't know that there is a History Museum in Maple Grove, where is it, how is it run, and what are they looking to do?
Yeah, so the History Museum is located kind of on the south side of our Public Works facility, and kind of some of the older Public Works, the former garage space of the Public Works facility was kind of repurposed into that History Museum when the new facility was constructed. It's operated by the Maple Grove Historical Preservation Society, so kind of a historical society here in town. Their president is Al Madsen, of course, the former administrator here, so he leads that group, and they came in to talk with the council about their desire to see that space expanded. They do collect a lot of kind of historical artifacts from residents in the city that help to tell the story of the history in Maple Grove, and they'd like to have some more space to not only store but also display those items in some of their exhibits. So council heard that information and directed staff to continue to work with Al and the representatives of the Historical Preservation Society. So more to come on that as that work continues.
Very good, and we'll keep you up to date on that. To the council agenda from the 3rd itself, one item pulled from consent, and that has to do with the new person serving the city who you just happen to know.
I do, yes. So Chuck, we had a vacancy on our planning commission, and the council interviewed applicants and appointed Chuck Lenthy. Chuck is a resident here, of course, in Maple Grove for about the last 15 years, but served as a city engineer for a number of cities, and I actually had the opportunity to work with Chuck when he served as a city engineer for the city of Blaine. I worked for Blaine back in the late 90s, and so Chuck and I spent about 5 years together there and have always stayed in touch. So I think he'll be a nice addition and bring some really great technical expertise to the Planning Commission.
All right, welcome to Chuck. Let's move ahead to some of the discussion items that were held, and one under the special business was a representative coming in to give a little preview of the session. Tell us about the visit by Representative Robbins, what she had to say, what's the nutshell of what's coming up.
Yeah, so Representative Robbins came in to visit with the council, just talk a little bit about what she anticipates for the kickoff of the session here, which is really just a week away at this point. And a lot of focus, of course, on our bonding proposals, bonding projects, the completion of 610 and then the North Metro Range expansion. So I had the opportunity to meet with her a few weeks ago to kind of go over the city's legislative agenda, so she's familiar with all of those issues and where the city stands on those, and then certainly the priority of getting 610 completed in North Metro Range. So we're looking forward to the session getting underway, and we will stay in close contact with Representative Robbins as the session gets going. Very
nice. One public hearing held, and a business that is in town that looking to change a little bit on liquor licensing. Give us that information.
Yeah, so this is Bonchon. It's located over at the Village Arbor Lakes. They opened a few months ago, so they've been, the restaurant portion has been opening, but they've added on-sale wine and beer licensing, so you can now enjoy that when you go there for the Bonchon Asian fried chicken.
Very good.
Yep.
Let's talk about a new business coming to town and through an interesting financing structure, and something the city has used very well in the past. Tell us a little bit about AbleCon. Give us a little background of where they have currently been and what's going to happen in Maple Grove.
Yeah, so AbleCon is a company that's currently located in New Hope, and they were looking to kind of modernize, but also look for the opportunity to expand their operations into a new space. And so they shopped around quite a bit and found a new home here in Maple Grove. So they will be leasing about half of the building, the Arbor Lakes Corporate Center. This is the new building at the corner of 85th and Zachary, the old Osseo dump site that was cleaned up, and Opus and Inland Development Partners did this project. It's slated to be ready for AbleCon to start working on their tenant improvements probably early to mid-summer. Great company. They are a defense contractor, aerospace contractor. They make a lot of electrical boards, those kinds of things. So with this new space, modernization, expansion, they're committed to bringing about 159 new jobs with this expansion. Great wages. The wages for these jobs are right around that $62,000 a year number. So a really nice addition to Maple Grove. And so the financing that they're utilizing is through the Minnesota Investment Fund, which is a program through the Department of Economic Development through the state. The city basically is kind of a conduit for that. We make the request through to deed, and then the funding comes through us to the business. Really no obligation for the city. What they've requested is a forgivable loan, or this is a forgivable program through deed. So basically, if they meet their job goals, that loan can be forgiven through the state of Minnesota, and just provides for continued growth of good jobs here in Maple Grove in the state of Minnesota. So great addition to the community, and really provides that growth opportunity for them, and great to have them occupying that new building.
Yes, great new space in the city of Maple Grove. What is the timing on their business opening? Still a few hoops to go through, or?
Yeah, you know, they'll have to get started on their tenant finish once the building is kind of ready for them in early to midsummer. I would anticipate we're probably a good year out from them getting under operation here. It's quite a process for them to transfer their operations in terms of qualifying their equipment and whatnot, because of their contracts with, you know, the defense industry and the aerospace industry. So it's quite a process for them. They've already ordered a lot of their new equipment. We had the opportunity to go down and visit them at their operations in New Hope and learn a little bit about them. But they've got a lot of equipment that they're not installing in the older facility that they'll install in the new facility. So a lot of process for them over the next year.
All right, very good. Exciting new business coming to the city. Let's move ahead to community development. A few items touched on here. This is where the bulk of the meeting was held. The first item was markets at Rush Creek. We've talked about this before. This is the outlot area. Seems to be taking shape. Yeah,
so we have a lot of activity out there in front of Hy-Vee. They have about 10 outlots that would be a mix of different uses there. This is a multi-tenant building. The end cap of it looks like it's going to be coffee, and then there's some other users in there. So this one gained its development stage approval. We'll probably see construction get started on this right away in the spring.
All right. A lot happening in that southwest area. Let's move up to the north end of town. We've talked in the last couple times about Project 100. In fact, for about a year we've talked about Project 100. It's been a process to get here. So what happened at the meeting, and what was the discussion? A lot of items here. This, if you look at the agenda, this had all the way down to L as far as this item. What went on?
Yeah, so this is really concept stage plan, rezoning, and final plat for this project. A little bit of a different animal on this one, in that Ryan Companies is really acting as the land developer, not necessarily the project developer on this. So what got approved on Monday night really allows for the subdivision of land and the creation of a lot to be transacted to the hospital for their initial expansion. Their initial expansion would have kind of the hospital expanding to the north, and then they would construct a parking lot on the new parcel kind of as an interim, just to help facilitate for this expansion. We do anticipate getting that formal application from the hospital here in the next, coming weeks, now that this part is in place. Because of kind of this unique situation with Ryan acting as land developer and the landowners, the Radens family, is staying involved, there were a number of things that traditionally we would resolve these things at the development stage part of the plan, but we needed to define and make sure that these things were clear here at the development stage, because as we go forward, each of the parcels will kind of come forward on a parcel by parcel basis. But we needed to account for how the new infrastructure, the roads, sewer, water, would be paid for. There's some trunk assessments there from the construction of Maple Grove Parkway and those transportation improvements, and then of course how parks and trails would be provided for. So this is an interesting site. It's got a lot of natural amenity. We've got some wetlands, we've got a creek, we've got a tree conservancy area, and so really wanting to make sure that we were defining all of these things, so as people come forward, it's kind of clear about what the obligations and responsibilities are for development. So we've been working hard on this project for about the last year, but I think it'll be a really, a neat concept for Maple Grove. The concept of it is a Minnesota Health Village, the Minnesota Health Village, so it's really kind of focused around that healthcare industry. We anticipate a lot of expansion in the area of medical office, and then of course whatever the hospital, how that campus continues to build out. As a mixed-use project, it does have some residential components, so some market rate apartments as well as some senior apartments, and then certainly some goals around some office up along that 610 corridor, so a nice mix of uses. And it does include this summer, one of the first pieces that'll go is the completion of that Ring Road Grove Circle, so kind of around from Home Depot down to the Aldi area, making that that road complete, and then an extension out to the west to serve kind of the northwest corner of that property. So big move last night to get this concept stage in place, and sets the ball in motion for some land transactions, and then for Ryan to get out and start to market some of this land and get some deals in. So
very exciting.
Yeah, a lot of work culminated last night, and more to come as the various development stages come forward. A
couple other components of it. Senior housing also a component of this, so this seems to be a trend in Maple Grove in many areas. So not only some, I would take it, market rate apartments, but as well as senior. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep, there is a senior project that's proposed in there as well as the market rate.
And how about from a retail standpoint? People might be saying, well, you've got the Grove right next door. Are you going to have more stores? And the answer to that is?
Not really. No, not really. There could be some small supporting retail that could occur over there, you know, maybe on the first floor of something, or woven into some of the office or the medical office type users, but really trying to keep that, you know, that retail focus on the Grove, the existing retail area there, so we don't anticipate a lot of retail use.
All right. We will keep you up to date as that process moves ahead, and again, some unique things happening. Timeline they talked about is possibly starting some grading, it sounded like, in the April time frame.
Absolutely.
So things are moving ahead. All right, we'll keep you up to date on that. Let's move ahead to community development. Some of the items that were touched on. One was Minneapolis Northwest Tourism. They gave their annual report, and this is something the city's very involved in. We
are very involved with that. Mayor Stephenson serves on the board, and then Joe Hogeboom, our Director of Community Economic Development, also serves on that board. And so great organization to partner with. They help us with promotion of a lot of our events and various activities in Maple Grove, and so really spent some time talking about those marketing plans and how we tap into some maybe new markets and emphasize kind of what are some of the highlights of this Northwest area. So more to come from Northwest Tourism, but I think they have some good plans underway for 2020.
Very good. A few new hotels in Maple Grove right now, so I'm sure they're very interested in those branding plans. Let's look ahead to some things coming up on Planning Commission. One that will come quickly is Elm Roads project. We've talked about that. That was tabled, and also zoning code text changes related to appeal time. Tell us about what those two are and what the timing is for them to come back.
Yeah, so Elm Road is a project down in the southwest corner of Maple Grove. The proposals from Gagne Land Development that would add about 106 single-family homes down there. It would provide for the Elm Road is kind of one of the remaining gravel roads in town, and so this would provide for that road to be reconstructed to an urban standard, and then the redevelopment of a number of large lot single-family homes down there into a more suburban neighborhood. So a lot of input from the neighborhood there, kind of on both sides of the issue, and so a lot for the Planning Commission to wrestle with. They asked staff to follow up on a few items, so that'll be coming back to the Planning Commission, and then following up on that in the next few weeks back to the city, or coming forward to the City Council for consideration.
Very good.
And the zoning
code?
Yeah, zoning text amendment. This one the council or the Planning Commission talked about a little bit. I think we're going to push this one off just a bit. Probably won't come back again right away. We've got our street maintenance hearings coming forward on February 18th. We've got this Elm Road project, and so those can be kind of hefty meetings, and so we'll give that a little bit of time and come back with really what is kind of staff level work, probably later in March.
Okay, very good. Last item from community development, something nice you're going to have to visit, the Sugar and Spice Sweetery. What is that? They're having a grand opening, I understand, or may have already had it. I'm not sure what the timing is.
Yeah, I think they're open, but they're going to be celebrating their grand opening and having a ribbon cutting on Wednesday, February 12th at 11 a.m. So kind of a unique approach here. They are sharing a kitchen with Rock Elm Tavern up there. And so kind of a unique approach. And then the desserts that are served at Rock Elm Tavern are from the Sugar and Spice Sweetery. And interesting, this is their first bricks and mortar location. They've been a kind of a caterer, you know, doing catering work with cakes and those kinds of things. And then they also partnered with Rock Elm Tavern when we did the Fernbrook Fields ribbon cutting, and they provided the cupcakes that afternoon, so we all had an opportunity to just try those there. So a great menu of cupcakes, individual sized tartlets, cakelets, cheesecakes, edible cookie dough, and ready-made cakes.
How about that?
So not great for your diet, but
Right.
a great addition up there at the Grove and right next to Rock Elm
Yeah,
Tavern.
nice.
Yep.
Welcome to town. Let's move ahead to transportation and public works, some of the things happening with the city engineer, and it sounds like a lot related to funding, discussion of how funding works, and also looking ahead. Give us a quick overview of some of the things Ken touched on.
Yeah, so as you'll recall, we did make application for federal build grant application for the 610 completion. We weren't successful in that application. No funding went to the state of Minnesota this year. But the federal DOT does provide us the opportunity for a debriefing on that application. Helps us to learn, how could we strengthen our application, maybe do better. There'll be another solicitation coming up here this spring, so we want to be ready for that. And the good news is we have our application kind of in the can, so it's more just about tweaking that application now for that resubmittal. We also have the Transportation Day at the Capitol for the Transportation Alliance will be March 18th. We have a lot of these types of events coming up here for advocacy for transportation funding. And then the Met Council will be moving through their transportation planning document, kind of projecting out to 2040. And of course now with the mayor having been appointed to the Transportation Advisory Board with the Met Council, he'll have the opportunity to weigh in on that process, which will be great to have our issues represented out here as part of that TPP or that Transportation Policy Plan program. So lots happening on the transportation front.
Yeah, always is. And one other note that should be coming up is something related to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency about permit fees and some of the increases possibly in that. So it sounds like more to come on that as well.
Yes.
Your update touching on a few things happening with the session getting close. I-94 is going to talk a little bit about their needs and their plans. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the city's a member of the I-94 Coalition, so they're holding their legislative breakfast this coming Friday morning in Rogers at 7:30 a.m. They always get a really nice turnout from all the legislators up and down the district here, so it's a great opportunity to not only thank them for the investment that's going to be made out there on the corridor over the next couple of years, but also advocate for the pieces that remain yet to be done. So the two top priorities for the coalition this year are the completion of 610, and then there's a segment further north between Albertville and Monticello that isn't funded to a 3-lane segment at this point. So top priority 610, and then that piece that's missing up there a little bit further to the west.
And speaking of that I-94 area, you may have noticed over the past week that there was a little extra congestion going around the corner. It sounds like they're starting to do a few things. Again, this process of planning for some of the cutovers and lane use they're going to have to do during construction. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I think so. I guess
preview work?
Probably a little preview work to what's going to start up this summer, and we will have a lot of disruption over the next 2 summers as that work gets underway out on 94.
All right, we'll try to keep you up to date on that. Let's talk about a few of the other things you mentioned. One was the State of the City event that's coming up quickly here in February.
Yep.
Where and who can come and what will they hear?
Yeah, February 28th at 7:30 in the morning at the community center, and so we serve a light breakfast, and it's a great opportunity to get an update from Mayor Stephenson, and you're kindly emceeing the event for us. We appreciate that. And then we're also here from Twin West about the workforce initiative that we're partnering with them on Elevate Future. So a great morning for a great update. Invitations have been sent out to the business community, but the community residents are also nonprofits. It's really open to anybody. We do have an Eventbrite registration that's available on our website as well.
Very good. So that's again on the 28th. After you spend that day looking back, you're going to look forward the next day. What happens on the 29th?
Yeah, so the 29th, our council staff planning session is scheduled. That's a Saturday. We do this every couple of years, sit down, kind of talk about where we're at as a city and where we're headed and what kind of challenges and opportunities we need to be prepared for. So we'll get started at 8:30 in the morning and commit to get them out of there by about 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Sounds good. We'll let you know how that went when we talk again in March. So that's the recap of your February 3rd meeting. Again, next meeting is coming up. It will be on a Tuesday because of the holiday. We'll give you that in just a little bit. And speaking of that holiday, that is on Monday the 17th, so people should know Government Center, other city offices closed that day?
That's correct, yep.
All right, so make sure you mark that on your calendar. Residents Guide, a chance to find out what's going on in town. It's time again for that to appear?
Yeah, so those have been delivered to every residence in town. You should see it, the 2020 Residents Guide. We also have copies available at the Government Center, Community Center, and Library. Really pretty this year, kind of a new touch on it, kind of a matte on the cover, so kind of a little modern look this year. It looks really nice.
Very good. So lots of information about all things in the city of Maple Grove inside there. Let's talk election. People know that the process is going on for the presidential nominating primary. How is it going? What are you seeing at the Government Center?
Yeah, we're seeing kind of a steady flow of absentee voters for the presidential nominating primary. So we'll be doing that absentee voting up until the day of that primary on March 3rd, which then we'll have all the polls open that day for that nominating primary. So we're open from 8 to 4:30 on that day. And we're also open on Saturday, the 29th of February. Same day we're hosting the planning session. The offices are open for voting that day as well. So if you have a hard time getting there during the workday. All the absentee voting has taken place on the second floor of the Government Center this year. So no change to that there. And then we're also continuing to look for election judges for 2020. 3 elections this year. This is the year of elections. So if you're interested in helping us out, we'd be happy to have you. All the training is provided. You don't need any special knowledge or training when you come in the door. And of course, we do pay people for being election judges. So if you're interested, give a call up to the Government Center, and there's information available on our website as well.
Very good. As we tape this first week of February, we're looking ahead to this Saturday and time to celebrate winter in Maple Grove. Wonders of Winter coming up. Where does it happen? What's the variety of events people can join in on?
Yeah, so Saturday, February 8th from 11 to 3 at Central Park. This is a great event. Looks like the weather's going to be really nice. So we've got all kinds of activities for all ages. We've got an ice sculptor coming, ice luminaries, free ice skating lessons with the Maple Grove Skating School from 1:30 to 2:15. They've got storytellers inside, snow painting, kick sledding, snowshoeing, wagon rides, and then s'mores and over some open fires and hot cocoa as well. So it's a really fun day to get out and enjoy winter at Central Park.
That's right. Everything you need to celebrate winter all in one place right there on that Saturday, February 8th. So make sure you stop by. Let's talk a little bit about Crime Stoppers, something that people may be aware of. And Maple Grove proud to partner with Crime Stoppers.
Yeah, so we're partnering with Crime Stoppers to gain more information from the public that may help to solve more cases. And so by working with Crime Stoppers, persons who want or may need to remain anonymous can submit information that might help us in solving a crime, and the tipster can sometimes qualify to receive a reward up to $1,000 and still remain anonymous.
Okay, so I'm sure more information on the city's site through the police department if you want to find out about that partnership. Let's talk transit. The numbers are in for the last year, and again, things looked great. Yeah,
we provided over 800,000 rides again this past year, a little over 810,000 in 2019. And so since 1990, Maple Grove Transit has provided more than 16 million rides to people downtown. So transit service remains strong. We're looking at, we have a number of routes that are very full, and we're looking at, a couple different things with our transit services in terms of some reverse commutes. So bringing people from downtown out to Maple Grove to do some circulator around some of our major employers, and then of course, the expansion of our My Ride services. We're really working on trying to, we see the demand increasing there now that we've made it a little bit more on demand, and so we're getting some smaller vehicles to try to serve that ride need in the community. So pretty exciting stuff happening in transit, and so congratulations to Michael Patz and his operations.
As you can see, it is definitely used in the city. Final note we want to touch on, if you like photography, we've got a place for you to visit in Maple Grove. Tell us where the show is.
Yeah, so the Maple Grove Art Center, their photography show is ongoing through February 28th. The exhibit features everything from natural scenes to abstract pictures, and so you can go to their website to check on their dates. That they're not open all the time, but they have a few dates and times that they're open. MapleGroveArtCenter.org for that information.
Very good. Heidi, thank you very much for the information.
You're welcome.
As you see, a lot going on in the city. There's your 2-hour meeting packed in about 30 minutes here. Let's leave you with that next council meeting date. As we mentioned, it's going to be on a Tuesday, as you see there, the 18th. MapleGroveMN.gov, the website. A lot of information we mentioned today as follow-up information on the website. You can look there. Next meeting again at 7:30 on the 18th. Phone number at the bottom of the screen and our viewer response line 533-1710. If you have questions or comments, we would love to hear from you. For Heidi Nelson, I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us.